Yo, how's it going, you guys? It's Market Scraper, and in this update, we'll take a look at the S&P 500, and also let's take a quick look at Tesla stock. It's just interesting that we've been having this interesting that price has been following our stick figure line here, our squiggly line here, to the T, kind of eerily close. We drew this basically way back over here, and it's interesting that we've been following this little squiggly line to the T. And anyway, let's see. Price over here, I'm still pretty bullish on Tesla stock. We have a good earnings that is expected to be coming out at the end of the week or sometime during next week. And we can see that the one thing that I'd be thinking about here is that this is a line that was once an area of support. We broke through it here decisively, and it became an area of resistance, and a significant area of resistance back over here, as we called out. So that could be an interesting area where we hit that to the upside at some point. So that is something to be paying attention to. But in general, I'm bullish Tesla stock, unless something like really bad comes out on earnings. It seems to be poised. It obviously could be a sell the news event on earnings. It could be a run up to earnings. And if we get a sell off, it could be another spike from earnings. So we'll see how that plays out for Tesla stock. Let's go back to the S&P 500 here. This is an interesting setup here. We talked about in our last update that we'd be very bullish if we ended up opening just above this trend line here, and we definitely did, and that was a interesting move here. So there are a couple things here. One, we're going to be watching this trend line to the downside. Two, we have this gap here. So those are two areas where tomorrow and the next day we'll be watching closely. And now, how closely should we be watching to that possibility? Basically, let's take a look at some just historical analysis here. How often and is it common for this a double gap back-to-back candles on a recovery from kind of a bottom in the stock market? And then in that same note, how often do we get that filled? Maybe this one filled here. So let's take a look at some historical charts here to see what we can find. Before we get in this video though, if you get any value from this content, don't forget to put a smash down on the like button and subscribe to this channel, or don't smash like button or don't subscribe. Okay, let's just get into this now. Okay, so let's take a look at the historical analysis that we could find. Okay, I don't see any gaps, double gaps yet. It's not something that's just too common. It's pretty uncommon, the scenario. Okay, we can see that we have, it looks like, is that a double gap right here? It looks like this is a double gap, and this is off of a bottom here. So this is, again, this is an area that we've been watching very closely, this bottom here. And so, but just backing up a little bit here, it's hard to tell right now. It's like, oh, where we are right now. Are we more in this type of a move here where we are not out of this overall corrective phase, and we're just going to the upside before another corrective part of this, again, overall corrective phase? That's hard to tell. Are we in this area or are we in this area? But this could give us an idea potentially of which one to expect. The amazing gaps up and strong price action we're seeing is more like and akin to what we're seeing at the moment right now. So we can see this right here. This is the double gap up scenario that we're talking about. And what happened to price action next? We can see that this was quickly filled over the next day. So this gives me the bias that it is actually increasingly likely, based on that and just based on what traders do in the past, what traders will do in the future, that this is likely to be filled. Now, will this be filled literally in the next trading day? I'm not sure if this will be literally filled in the next trading day. It could definitely be. I think futures are kind of red right now, the last time I checked. As of this video recording, so we could see potentially a gap fill tomorrow, but that could also happen the following day. Now, the main point here is also we have this convergence of this gap being filled. We also have the conversion of this trend line right here. And we can see that if over the next couple of days, because I would expect just generally just some more consolidation before this run continues. I think we had a nice run here, and I think we could just expect some consolidation of these gains that we've been seeing so far. So let's see if that ends up playing out. We see some consolidation. We get this normal retracement to this gap fill, and over the next few days, and again hitting this trend line even possibly. So we're watching out for that. That's kind of what we expect to see. We did talk about in our last update, if we went open below this trend line here, we would be expecting a move possibly as a retest down to this trend line here. So if we end up breaking below this on a closing basis, that would be the next area that we would kind of expect price to possibly go. So anyway, but again, for right now, we're expecting to stay above this area here, and but we wouldn't be surprised based on historical analysis, based on that potentially this edge that we're getting from this slight, very quick historical analysis that we did, that this gap is more likely than not. Again, gaps are likely to be filled. And then also, again, based on what we were seeing in the past of how these corrective phases kind of work out, that this is an area that is likely to possibly be filled. And also, again, just like this one here, we were thinking initially, oh, this is likely to be filled. But after we dug into the past, after we dug into the history about how likely this type of a candle actually gets filled, and it was actually a lot less likely. It made us feel like this was unlikely to be filled because our downside target was simply more of this head and shoulder pattern and a retest of this trend line, and not so much that this would actually be filled, because based on a historical analysis, this wasn't an area that quickly got filled in all of the scenarios that we looked at. So that is just really interesting to get more of a, because gaps, we think, okay, they're going to get filled. But if we do some historical analysis, we can see which gaps actually are more apt to get filled and which gaps are less likely to get filled. And so that's what we're looking at. This is one of those gaps that are seemingly more likely to get filled, and this is seemingly one that's less likely to get filled in the near future, few coming trading days, things like that. I hope you guys got some value from this content. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to this channel for content like this. I'll catch you guys in the next one.